Dispensationalism teaches that all Bible prophecy has to revolve around national Israel. Israel was rejected by God because they rejected their Messiah and put him to death. After the 70-week prophecy, the gospel went to everybody, Jew and Gentile. So the question is, can a Jew be saved? Yes, the same way a Gentile is saved now, by accepting Jesus Christ, which has not happened with the nation of Israel yet. And I don't believe it will, because prophecy tells us that in the kingdom of heaven, certain ones will speak against the fact that Israel did not come to God. Do we turn our back on Israel then because of this? No, we don't. Okay? And like I said earlier, I don't want this to get into a political discussion. We're here to study the Bible. Okay? The Bible and salvation is for everyone. The Jew, the Greek, the male, the female, the rich, the poor, the tall, the short, the skinny. No, I'm not going there. I'm not going to do that. Okay? It's for everyone. Anybody who comes to Christ is considered spiritual Israel. Had a question. I hope the individual who asked the question is here. I never like to reveal a name on a question, so I hope they're here. The question is, the people of the prince who would come and destroy the city, meaning Jerusalem. He said, that's the Antichrist. No, it's not. Okay? But I'm going to take you through this whole thing right now, real quickly. You got this piece of paper when you came in tonight. I want you to grab that piece of paper, that handout that you got. Grab it. Let's spend 2 minutes on this, and then I'll put some slides up, okay? Judges 2:14, and the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, so he delivered them into the hands of plunderers and despoiled them. He sold them into the hands of their enemies all around so that they could no longer stand before their enemies. The Lord employed Assyria and Babylon to punish Israel for drifting into apostasy. Now the next little paragraph, I want you to notice this carefully. It says, through the prophet Jeremiah, God pledged that he would send his servant Nebuchadnezzar. Now his servant Nebuchadnezzar was an evil man, an evil king. Look in Jeremiah 27:6. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him. All right? Habakkuk, the prophet Habakkuk, disputed with God, that's in the next paragraph, about the use of heathen kings to chastise Israel. But the Lord assured him that it was necessary and Nebuchadnezzar would be dealt with in due time. All right. Now, I want you to look at the back. This is a parable given by Jesus in Matthew 22 and verse 1. And Jesus answered and spoke to them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king, that's God, who arranged a marriage for his son, that's Jesus, and sent out his servants, the prophets, to call those who were invited to the wedding. And they were not willing to come. Again he sent out other servants, saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and fatted cattle are killed, all things are ready, come to the wedding. But they made light of it, went their ways, one to his farm, another to his business. And the rest seized his servants, the prophets, treated them spitefully and killed them. Well, you don't have to read very far in the Old Testament and you see that that's what happened. Verse 7, but when the king heard about it, he was furious, and he sent out his armies. God sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, burned up their city. That happened when the Roman general Titus brought his armies in and destroyed and burned Jerusalem. God called them his armies. All right, now that's important because of what I'm going to show you here right now. You remember when we studied the 70-week prophecy this last week, right? All right, 70 weeks were determined upon Israel. This was a probationary time for Israel. This is the most important time prophecy in the whole Bible. Why? Because it tells us exactly when Jesus would be baptized in AD 27. That's in Luke 3, very clear. And when he would die in the middle of the week, bringing an end to sacrifice and so on. All right, so you remember this. All right? You know what dispensationalism does with this. After the 69th week, they take the 70th week and they move it down. They disconnect it from the time prophecy and move it down to the end of time. They take Christ out of it and put the Antichrist in the middle of it. So we're going to read some verses. I'm going to go fairly slow and I'm going to explain them as we go. I hope you can see that and read it. I hope you're able to read it. Know therefore and understand, this is Daniel 9:25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince. Okay, from the command to rebuild until Jesus would appear. Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again and the wall even in troublous times. All right, I'm going to take you back to that 70-week prophecy. Okay, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. You had 7 and 62, you have 69. That brings us down to this last week, this last 7 years. All right? The street shall be built again and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. Okay, so we know that that's talking about Jesus dying in the middle of that last prophetic week. He shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. The sacrifices ended when Christ died on the cross. No more sacrificing a lamb because Jesus was the Lamb of God. All right? So, Messiah the Prince up here, this is the same Jesus down here in verse 26. After 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. He didn't die for himself, he died for you. He died for me. Here's where the problem comes in for some Bible students. They say the rest of that from that after himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end shall be with a flood. Till the end of war's desolations are determined. He shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. They're saying this is the Antichrist. It's not the Antichrist. The people of the prince, that's still talking about Messiah the Prince. Who did he use to destroy Jerusalem? Titus and the Roman army. They burned the city. The people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Remember, they drew back for a moment and then they came in. till the end of war, the war desolations are determined. Then he, that's talking about Jesus again, shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. It's talking about Christ all the way through there, Messiah the Prince. Baptist pastor in Wyoming took issue with this, got quite upset with me over this, and he came and talked with me and he said, look, it can't be Messiah because Prince and the first he is not capitalized. Folks, there were no capital letters and no punctuation in the original Hebrew and Greek. None. Koine Greek, which this is not, this is Hebrew, has no punctuation and no capitals in the beginning. Same with Hebrew. All right? If it were me, translated, by the way, who capitalized Messiah the Prince and Messiah, and then, are you noticing the last he down here is capitalized? That's in your New King James Bible. Who did the capitalization? The translators. It wasn't in the original language. All right? If it were up to me, if I was translating, I would have done this. I would have capitalized Prince and he as well as the last he like they did. It's not talking about the Antichrist coming, destroying the city of Jerusalem sometime in the future. This has already happened. We need to leave the prophecies together where God puts them. Don't try to mess around with them and move stuff around. Leave it where God put it. Otherwise, it doesn't mean what God wanted it to mean. I hope this helps. All right? I hope this helps you as you're thinking about this, and I do hope that the person who asked the question is here.